Let's dive into some wide receivers now that I have as must-add players for this week. Starting off with a name who I absolutely cannot believe is rostered in under 47%, or excuse me, under 50% of leagues at 47%. That is a crime. Like, Jakobi Meyers is a player who is almost a weekly high floor flex lineup player, an option for teams. And he flies so far under the radar because he doesn't do the flashy things that we see from other players, but he separates so well. He's such a good safety blanket for whatever the quarterback situation is in New England. We've seen him produce with Mac Jones. We've seen him have his games with Cam Newton dating back to, 2020. We've seen him have games with guys going back to, he played with the Tom Brady Patriots at times. Myers has been around. He has been in this system, and he has been integrated into this New England Patriots regime here. And you've got a player who this past week, and if we look at the 3 games he's played in 2022, has 27 total targets in 3 games, averaging 9 targets per game. That's nearly double-digit opportunities per contest. And in 2 of his 3 games, he's had 95 or more yards receiving. So absolutely wild stuff here. He caught 7 of his 8 targets this week for 111 yards and a touchdown against Detroit with Bailey Zappi. So lots of stuff to take advantage of here with Jakobi Meyers. If you're playing in a PPR format, what are you doing? You need to add this player. He should be rostered in nearly 70%, if not more, of formats. He is the wide receiver to own in New England, and I think that his rostership really dipped because of the fact that we didn't have that availability in week 4, and that was, something that players were panicking on a little bit, or maybe just didn't want to have the patience with for his injury. So go grab Myers. The time is now to do so. Definitely a viable depth piece and someone that can really bail you out in a pinch here and be a dependable option. George Pickens here. This is so fun for me to talk about with George Pickens. If you guys watched the Bills game, there was really not much to see from the Pittsburgh side of the ball except for George Pickens. Actually, Deontay Johnson, let's give the man his respect. His production wasn't great this week. He had 13 opportunities, target share-wise. 9 targets went to Chase Claypool. But you've got 3 talented receivers here. Deontay nearly made some insane catches in this game. And in space just looks shifty as ever and like an extremely talented and gifted player. But for George Pickens, you could easily make a case for him by the end of this season being the alpha wide receiver. He is such a physically imposing and dominant athlete. It's totally ridiculous. There was one play. He was on the left. He was aligned to the left sideline. He was the perimeter receiver for Pittsburgh. They throw him the ball, they being Kenny Pickett. He goes up, snatches it, and then literally just holds the ball in the air like, hey, look what I found, and just you don't know how hard he was gripping the ball, but you just know the grip strength on that thing because there was another Bills defender. I was like, oh, he's gonna come peanut punch that thing out of there. That sucker wasn't coming out. George Pickens, he's got great hands. He's an absolute physical anomaly. There's these funny clips flying around on NFL meme pages where they say, some receivers separate themselves with shiftiness and raw footwork ability. Here's how George Pickens does it, and off the snap of the ball, he just clobbers the DB and sends him 5 yards back flying off of his own 2 feet. So this is an absolute dude here. He has alpha wide receiver energy and mentality for this position room. Playing with Kenny Pickett, I do think opens up more opportunities for Pickens than we saw with other players like Mitchell Trubisky at the helm for this team, just because Kenny's willing to throw the ball downfield more, give George 50-50 opportunities, and I think that'll ultimately uncap his ceiling here a little bit. So I'm definitely holding him, because the upside is insanely large here. You could get a player that goes, well over 100 yards multiple times this season. In a terrible game script this week, we saw him go out there, catch 6 of 8 targets for 83 yards. Again, he was 3rd in targets in the wide receiver room, but he still got 8. Again, it was the worst of the worst game script scenarios. In terms of Pittsburgh getting blown out, it was actually favorable for the wide receiver room here. But go pick him up, 55% rostership. How about Alec Pierce here? I apologize. I forgot to toss Alec Pierce's rostership on the screen. It is 8% in Yahoo Fantasy, so very good availability here. He got 8 passes for 81 yards on 9 targets. That's an 88.8% catch rate on Thursday Night Football against Denver. And he was being such a weapon. He was being so impactful in that contest that Denver literally took Patrick Surtain, who they devoted to to shadow covering Michael Pittman for the majority of the contest, and slapped him on Alec Pierce here. And guess what he did? He continued to win contested catch after contested catch, making big play after big play. He ain't the flashiest player in the world. This isn't a guy that's going to, run a Devontae Adams level route off the line of scrimmage and just do these beautiful things. But what he was is an elite possession receiver in this one game. Now, he has a lot of work to do. He's still a rookie. He has raw athletic ability, though. He has to obviously progress and refine himself a lot as a player from a skillfulness perspective, but the tools are here. And I think that his emergence and potential breakout here the rest of this season really helps Michael Pittman and goes kind of hand in hand, because he really was their 1A and only passing option in the offense up until this point, because we've seen Pierce be dinged up with injuries and then just struggle to find a number 2 in this passing game. So I think this helps all parties here. I think having lighter coverage on each, because the defense has to respect both, is again a plus for this team overall. Maybe even helps lighten up the box a bit for Jonathan Taylor down the stretch of this season. So Alec Pierce here, again, 8% rostership. Again, I apologize for not including that in the graphic for today, but a potential bench stash with high ceiling potential throughout the course of this season. Devin Duvernay here, another 60+% rostered player. However, I did want to toss him out here. Had himself a nice game on Sunday Night Football, which I just consumed and absorbed, of course. Now, no Rashad Bateman. He's out with a foot injury. Kind of sucks. I had him as my must-start player, or one of the 5 receivers for this week, but he wasn't able to go. I loved how they used Devin Duvernay in this game. It was very dynamic. They got him the football on the ground and rushing opportunities out in space. They had him some passes as well. He's a big physical body, and he can get out there and make things happen when given requisite opportunities. Now, I would prioritize, the rookie receivers like your Alec Pierces, like your George Pickens, even Jakobi Meyers, of course, who I talked about and put him first for a reason in today's episode. I don't always line them up in a ranking sorted fashion here. I usually try to organize them by position, but for Duvernay, he's a talented player. He's a very capable playmaker, someone who can go vertical over the top and make big things happen. However, the nature of this offense, having Bateman and Andrews out there every week for the most part, you are assuming that you're going to have a situation where Duvernay is going to be on a low volume level of opportunity per game basis. So I'm prioritizing those other guys. Duvernay's a nice piece to have, though, so just tossing out that for food for thought here. Randall Cobb, another name I wanted to talk about now. Randall Cobb is definitely, in terms of the order of this video, towards the bottom of the list. This is a wide receiver by committee. Again, I apologize. I also didn't toss his rostership on there. It is 3% right now on Yahoo. Again, 3% rostership for Randall Cobb in fantasy football leagues on Yahoo Fantasy. But this is a wide receiver by committee approach. It is absolutely and 100% that for this Packers team. The reason I think that we saw Randall Cobb come out here, have himself a higher snap count percentage and level of opportunity in this game, is because Christian Watson left with a hamstring injury. Now, Christian Watson isn't someone that was being super worked in terms of his overall opportunity share in this offense, but in the run game, they love to have him out there as a blocker. He's a very fast, speedy athlete that's able to be used in mismatched situations to create advantages for Green Bay offensively, again, even if the ball doesn't end up in his hands. And so Cobb ends up getting in there more because it's him, it's Dobbs, it's Dobbs, and they just really needed Cobb to step up. And at the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers trusts him. So he got 13 targets, led the team with 7 receptions for 99 yards. But in 3 games this season, he's played under 50% of the snaps. Week 1, he played just north of 60%. So it's not like you're getting a weekly lock to be a flex level player. Is a capable safety blanket. Sometimes health can be a concern for Randall. Sometimes, of course, that leads to availability concerns and problems. And again, he's not going to be on the field a ton here, so you're going to have to be patient, and definitely is a start in spots type of a player, not someone that you're going to want to deploy out there on a regular basis. So at least keep that in mind for those of you, again, 3% rostership, 14+ man leagues or 12-man leagues with a lot of flex positions and a deep bench to keep in mind for consideration here. Josh Reynolds diving back one more time into the wide receiver position for week 6 waiver wire ads. 31% rostership for Reynolds here. He has had 10 or more points in half PPR scoring in each game this season, week 2 and beyond. So week 1 was his quietest outing of the season. It's no coincidence here. Just like we saw with our friend TJ Hawkinson, the second Amon-Ra St. Brown and DJ Chark got injured, these guys are stepping up and popping off and making plays. And Reynolds is a really nice, talented player. Now, he's not a lead receiver for a team and shouldn't be someone that's considered to be that over the course of a season. But with DJ Chark out here with an ankle injury, with Amon-Ra St. Brown coming back from his ankle injury but not being 100% and having himself one of his quieter days of the season, Josh Reynolds comes in here once again, steps up, and produces nice levels of production for this team, which is something that warrants him as a flex consideration player in those deeper formats. So lots of receivers as potential adds this week. If DJ Chark comes back healthy and Amon-Ra St. Brown as he gets healthier, keep an eye on his practice routine and overall availability throughout the week. But Reynolds could be a viable play in that sense.